let's kick off our international news hour then. And last week we talked about the Philippines, didn't we? And the incoming president, the new president in the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos Jr., sworn in on the 30th of June. It's opened lots of big conversations about press freedom in particular, and rights, and people in the country feeling deeply concerned about what his presidency means, not least those people who are at the forefront of holding government to account, a government and a president that seems reluctant to be held to account. One of those people is Danilo Arao, who's an associate editor of Bulalat, who is a journalist lecturer at the University of the Philippines. And Danilo joins us now. Danilo, hello, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and good morning to all of you.
Good morning. Good morning. Real pleasure to have you on the show. I think to understand how you fit into this story, Danilo, it'll be worth you telling us about Bulat. Is it Bulat? Excuse me, I'm pronouncing the name.
Bulatlat.
Bulatlat.
Yes.
Bulatlat is a media outlet that you have run and has found itself victim to government censorship. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. By the way, when you say bulatlat in English, it means to expose or to uncover. So we do a lot of investigative and explanatory journalism to help make sense of the reality. And you're correct, we're being censored right now because last month, during the waning days of the Duterte administration, the National Telecommunications Commission decided to block our website along with 26 other websites on the pretext that we were allegedly linked with communist and terrorist groups. They did not present any evidence. The only basis for the blocking by the National Telecommunications Commission was a letter from the National Security Council accusing us of terrorist links. But there was no evidence provided. We were not given due process. And in fact, Daryl, we only found out about the order of the National Telecommunications Commission and the letter from the National Security Council because we did our own investigative journalism. So they did not furnish us a copy of anything. So that's why right now we decided to go to the court to file an injunction to nullify the order.
So with the National Telecommunications Commissions, it's Rory here, good morning by the way.
Yes.
Are they allowed to do that, or do they need a court order for that?
Legally, based on my consultations with lawyers, Rory, they do not have the power to block websites on suspicion of communist or terrorist links. We have an anti-terrorism law enacted about 2 years ago, and the only thing you can do, if ever you've proven that there are links to communist and terrorist groups, is to freeze bank assets. You do not block websites. So that's also another question that we raised before the court. And of course, the more fundamental issue here, Rory, is the suppression of press freedom. Under our constitution, no law shall be passed abridging, among others, freedom of expression and freedom of the press, and censoring or blocking our website is basically a violation of our constitution.
And a judge has said as well that there is the ability to bypass those blocks. How easy is that to do? And also, does that mean that they're actually not suppressing it because you can bypass the blocks?
Well, there are ways to bypass it. It's just a matter of installing and turning on your virtual private network or your VPN. And as we all know, VPN is an inherent part of our digital security. You can also turn on certain settings in your DNS or your domain name server in your own device so that you can bypass whatever DNS blocking there is. Now, just because it can be bypassed, it doesn't mean that the order is valid. Because again, when we talk about digital security, it's a matter of choice among online users as to whether or not they will turn on virtual private network, they will make adjustments to their DNS settings. The blocking would still be baseless, even if it can be easily bypassed.
And I know a judge has said that you've sort of lost half your readership now, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We lost half our readership because it's an indication that I'm not saying that many people do not want to install virtual private networks. That's beside the point. Based on Google Analytics data, you're correct. We lost 43% to 50% of our readers ever since the order was implemented by the internet service providers in the Philippines. Something you have to know about the blocking so that we can have some context here. The government does not have control over the internet backbone. So they have to rely on the internet service providers, which are privately owned. So what happened is not really a government-imposed blocking directly done by the national government, but rather a government-imposed blocking done by the internet service providers. And in this particular case, what they did was to block the domain name servers. So in any part of the country, you cannot access our website unless you know how to bypass such blockings.
So does the president have the power to overturn that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Does the president have the power to overturn that?
Yes. Yes. The president has the power to do that because the National Telecommunications Commission is under the Department of Information and Communications Technology, which is part of the cabinet of the current president. So they can overturn it. And the other way to do so is, it's not necessarily the president, but rather the National Security Advisor. We have a new one right now with the inauguration of the 17th president. So the new National Security Advisor can rescind the order that was done by her predecessor, and everything will be back to normal, so to speak, because with the rescission of the National Security Council's letter, there's no basis for the NTC order. So that's another way to do it.
Right. It's a concerning level of power, isn't it, and influence that, really. What's the, just on a broader point here, I mean, the people of the Philippines, I guess, understanding and recognising this kind of exercise of power and censorship of media outlets like yours, is there a resistance? Are people concerned about this? Are people talking about it? Or I suppose, have their opinions been swayed by a successful misinformation campaign?
Well, it's a very, very polarizing issue, to be frank about it, Daryl and Rory. There is a pushback in the sense that I'm very happy to tell you that much of the colleagues in the media are really denouncing the decision of the government to block not just our website, but of others, because this is an issue not just of press freedom, but of freedom of expression. Ordinary citizens have also registered their dissent and their dissatisfaction over the decision. However, we have to look at the other side of the fence. There are also supporters of Duterte and even Marcos who say that it's just right that we be censored because of the baseless accusation that we have allegedly communist and terrorist groups. Now, as early as now, we deny any links, and we challenge anybody who's red tagging us to provide the necessary evidence and file a case in court if necessary. But let me just tell you that red tagging is really nothing new here in the Philippines. Even during the time previous to Duterte, we've been red tagged several times. Bulaklak was established in 2001, so we're about 21 years old now, and we've been red tagged since time immemorial. So it's really nothing new, but the brazenness, the high level of brazenness of the administration is really immeasurable under the Duterte administration, and it is mainly rooted in the establishment of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or the NTFL-CAP, because they've somehow weaponized and institutionalized red tagging. So it's now practically done on an everyday basis. I'm not exaggerating when I say that.
Right, blimey, goodness me. Just very briefly, Danilo, because I'm tight on time. We've got about 60 seconds left, if you will.
Okay.
I noticed that, so best of luck with this. I noticed that the UN have condemned the move. They've been very vocal in their criticism. What is the international response like? Do you have support internationally in that sense?
Yes. Aside from the United Nations, we have support from the Community to Protect Journalists, Reporters Without Borders, and other international media groups. And we're very thankful to that. And of course, I also need to thank, with the last 6 seconds here, programs like yours for helping amplify the issue. We're very thankful for such initiatives.
No, we're very thankful for having you on, Danilo, and for you giving us your time. We'll come back. We'll keep an eye on this story, and we'll come back to you at some point soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Danilo Arao, who is in the Philippines for us tonight on that issue of press freedom and a creeping censorship in the Philippines. A concerning issue. I mean, it's not here on our doorstep, but it matters, doesn't it? Really, really matters.
Of course it does.
Okay, we'll continue our trip around the world. We'll head to the Middle East. Joe Biden's been there, and to Israel. We'll catch up with Joe Biden's trip to the Middle East and to New Zealand as well before 4 on TalkTV. Stick about.